This week, Oregon Venture Fund achieves a 60x return on an investment. 60x return. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek has healthy skepticism about artificial intelligence. Two former Techstars folks form a new venture capital fund and a new Demolicious champion. Let's get into it. Just getting stuff ready here so I can talk to you about stuff and things. Pretty big week this week. Lots of stuff to talk about, lots of stuff going on. Obviously, the big overwhelming story was Jama Software exiting to private equity for $1.2 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. Now they had raised, in the neighborhood of $233 million and then exited at $1.2 billion. They had taken some private equity in a $200 million round that allowed, investors to take money out, founders to take money out, employees to take money out and kind of have a liquidity event. A couple of the investors, specifically Oregon Venture Fund and Madrona, held on to stakes. So they still had equity in this company during this $1.2 billion acquisition, which means they saw some return from that. You might say some pretty significant return. I've done a video on this because I didn't want to take the whole time talking about Jama. It's a big story, but the long and the short of it is Jama Software has been acquired for $1.2 billion, and the return that Oregon Venture Fund saw was 60x. That's basically like saying, I'm going to put in $250,000, and then once this exit happens, I get back $15 million for that $250,000. So that's kind of what the Jama exit looked like. So of course it was a big story. Congrats to Jama on having that exit, and hope everybody sees similar returns to what Oregon Venture Fund saw. But again, if you're interested in more details on that, I've linked up the video so that you can watch that. As I covered last week, Oregon Governor Tina Kotek has kind of brought together a new group at the state level. It's an advisory council focused on artificial intelligence. It's really designed to help the state understand how to best use artificial intelligence to their benefit and not to their detriment. So I wasn't surprised when Oregon Governor Tina Kotek described her position on AI as having a healthy amount of skepticism about the potential of that technology. I will make sure to post that video once it's available so that you have the opportunity to listen in on what the inaugural meeting of that panel had to say and meet the people on the panel and learn more about what they're planning to do with AI at the state level. Just subscribe. I'm keeping an eye on it. Just subscribe. I'll tell you about it every week. Portland's always looking for the early stage venture capital to support the companies that are growing here in town, and sometimes that capital comes from local resources. Sometimes it comes from outside of town, like in Seattle. That's why I'm always happy to hear when a new Seattle VC firm is standing up. And I just heard about a new one this week called Two Ravens. Now, the irony of the situation here is, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about, unfortunately, how Techstars Seattle was shut down. One of the things Techstars hinted at when they decided to pull out of Seattle was they kind of claimed there was a lack of venture capital activity up there, which I might disagree with. There seems to be a fair amount of venture capital activity in Seattle. But the irony with this whole situation with Two Ravens is it started by two former Techstars folks. So, this wasn't the motivating factor, but it kind of seems like one of those things where it's like, oh, they must have really taken that to heart, what Techstars said, because now there's a new venture capital firm in Seattle that's focused on really underrepresented, underserved, underestimated founders. So trying to find those deals in founders that are often overlooked. So I'm looking forward to seeing the types of deals they source. I'm looking forward to hosting them down here in Portland to see all the interesting startups that we're working on. And I know that Isaac Cato is the type of person to do that, because when he was the MD of Techstars Seattle, he made regular trips down here and invited us up regularly to participate in the programs he was running. So that relationship's already been established. I have no doubt that it will grow stronger with Two Ravens. So looking forward to seeing what they do and looking forward to see what impact Two Ravens has on the Portland startup community. Speaking of VCs, they like the pitches. They get the pitches all the time. And we've got a couple of pitch situations that happened in the news this week. One, the Westside Pitch competition is coming up on April 3rd, and they've selected their finalists who will take the stage and compete against one another for the grand prizes of Westside Pitch 2024. This is sponsored by Thai Oregon, Westside Pitch. It's part of their Big Pitch Oregon program. They're doing a variety of things in different counties, so they're covering off on Washington County, Clackamas County, Multnomah County. For folks outside the region who might not know Portland, those three counties come together. Fun trivial fact, that's also why we established Metro, which was the first regional government of its kind. It was designed to really support the interaction of the city with those three counties and ensure everybody was playing nicely together. So there you go. Take that one to your next cocktail party with Portland, Metro, the first regional government of its kind. But back to the startup stuff. Enough civics. It's spring break. We should not be talking about school type stuff. Westside Pitch competition, Thai Oregon. They've selected the people who are going to pitch, and they have two different categories. They have a pre-seed and they have a seed. The folks pitching in pre-seed will be Bobify, Howl at the Spoon, and Artifact, but Artifact. On the seed stage, the people pitching will be Diesel, Rising Wines Collective, and Steer Up. If you'd like to attend, the event takes place on April 3rd. I believe tickets are in the $20 to $25 range if you're not a Thai member. And if you are a Thai member or a Thai charter member, you get a significant discount on those tickets. Again, this is designed to showcase what's going on the west side of Portland beyond the West Hills Tunnel and also out in Hillsborough and Beaverton. So if you're in Washington County and are curious about what's going on in the startup community, or if you're anywhere else in the Portland area and curious about that, I encourage you to attend Westside Pitch 2024. Westside Pitch is one competition that happens on an annual basis. A pitch competition that happens on a monthly basis is Demolicious. Demolicious is the one where you show up, you get 3 minutes to pitch, the audience votes, and if you wind up on top, you get the Demolicious belt, which is a big old championship boxing type belt, and you get to carry that around for the next month. And then if you show up the following month and pitch again and win again, you get to keep it. But so far, every champion has been dethroned, and this month was no different. Detox walked in, the reigning champion with the belt. Eco Badlands knocked him out of the top spot, and they walked away with the championship belt. Think you've got what it takes to knock down Eco Badlands and take that belt away from them? Well, you're in luck, because Josh Carter, the organizer of Demolicious, is still looking for people to apply to pitch on stage for April or to pitch later in the future. So if you have an interest in test driving your pitch or just taking some time on stage, or maybe if you're a cocky boxer type and you're I'm going to take those people out, I'm going to take their belt, you should apply. Finally, if you notice that Twitter's getting a little spammy lately, maybe you've noticed they're not even calling it Twitter anymore. Twitter's always had this ability to mute a specific word or specific people or block people, kind of to keep terms or keep your timeline kind of clean. But that can be a really arduous process, trying to block every single word or trying to mute every single topic that you don't want to hear about. AI to the rescue. Now, we have a little AI helper bot that you can install through a Google Chrome extension. Once you install that extension, you can tell the bot to say, I don't want to see any ads, or I don't want to see any NFT stuff, or I don't want to hear about any crypto, or I don't want that damn Silicon Florist guy like cluttering my timeline. And then the bot sits there and says, well, let me filter through your Twitter timeline for you. Now, it does a really nice thing where it doesn't hide them completely, but it kind of like collapses them and marks them red. So if you're ever curious about what's being repressed or muted, you can just click on it and see what's going on there. I've honestly been using it all week and it's doing a really good job. I look forward to seeing how this project progresses. It's just a side project right now, but it's really, really useful. And it kind of harkens back where people would be excited about technology like AI, and they would build a little side project and release it and say, here, I built this thing here. Go ahead and use it and see how it works for you. I don't know. It's not a business. It's just a thing I built. So please use it. That's what this little helper bot is like. So if you're still trying to use Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and you're a little frustrated by the content you're seeing on there, please consider installing this Google Chrome extension and seeing if that makes Twitter a little more bearable for you these days. Okay, that's it. Because I took so much time, I took a whole other video to talk about Jama, so I was able to run through the news really quickly. I hope what you heard this week was helpful. As always, I'm looking for your feedback. If there's other things you'd like to see or other things you'd like to hear about, please let me know. Thanks for coming. It's always good to see you. Always good to get a chance to hang out and chat with you about what's happening in the Portland startup community. Thanks for making time to come hang out with me this week. I hope you're doing well. Please hang in there. And until we get the chance to talk again, please keep up the good work.